Hey guys, welcome to another series of the Stellar tutorial video. In this series, in this video, we are going to be talking about the Horizon API and the RPCs. Now, from list of the components and the core component of the Stellar network, the Stellar blockchain, and looking at the stacks that we've been doing in 2 videos now. We've talked about the network, the core. In this video, we're going to be talking about the API, the Horizon API, and the RPCs. Now, these two, basically, the reason why we are combining them in this video is because they are used for fetching data. So they are just two different protocols for fetching data, right? But they handle and perform similar functionality. So what they do is that for data availability, I added this image to show the stack, right? So starting from the network, which is the core protocol, we already understand why that is, because they provide you access to the platform where you can actually test what you've built. So for you to actually test, you need to have a network to even test in the first instance. So they exist at the core protocol of it. So then when you talk about data availability, then we begin to talk about the RPCs and the Horizon API that we'll be looking at in this case. And then from there, we look at the SDK, which is the last stack we are going to be considering for the component of the blockchain. Right. So we'll talk about all of this also in the application layer later when we go into application development on Stellar, when we start writing smart contracts and integrating the front end and using our wallet, right, to interact with the blockchain and all of those details. But so basically, we are looking at this, the network, data availability, and the developer tooling, right? So now, considering this, let's go into talking about the data availability APIs that we have, data availability tools, or that we have available to us from Stellar. Now, from Stellar now, so now let's look at this tool. Let's look at the Horizon API and the Soroban RPC. Now, we'll come back to the Soroban RPC. Let's talk about the Horizon API first. So for the Horizon API, we know that an API is basically an application programming interface. And what does that mean? It's simply an interface for you to be able to interact with another entity. So you have an entity somewhere, you have a computer, you have a software, you have anything. An application programming interface is something that allows you, is that medium that allows you to interact with another entity elsewhere. So basically in this case, Stellar provides us an API also that we can use on the network. The first thing we need to know is that, or previously we've learned that nodes run software called the Stellar core, right? We already understand that. So the question that now comes out of that is, okay, now that we know that nodes run software and that exists at the core of it, at the protocol level, how do clients that want to interact with the blockchain now fetch data from the blockchain, or want to display the data they already have, want to display some of their assets, want to do all of those things? How do that work? You have listed an asset, you've tokenized your asset on Stellar. How do you fetch all of those data? And now, Stellar provides you two ways to do that. You have the Horizon API and the RPC. So in this case now, the API is just a RESTful HTTP API that most of us are conversant with, right? It's just a RESTful HTTP API. So it provides that for you to be able to query data from the blockchain and to be able to submit data to the Stellar network also. So now the question is, how do clients run nodes, right? So Stellar provides this for you, and Horizon API is basically a RESTful HTTP API. So it's a client front-facing thing, right? It's a client-facing side of the whole stack right now. So now you can also use it to query data or submit transaction to the network. So that's basically what you can do with these two things. So now looking at understanding that this is just basically an HTTP API. So it's a protocol that allows you to fetch, to query data about the network and also submit transactions to the network, basically. So now let's understanding the API already, let's go to the RPC, right? The Soroban RPC. So let's talk about the Soroban RPC now. Initially, when we looked at this, we called it the RPCs, right? But in this case, we are calling this Soroban RPC. Now, the Soroban RPC is just the name, it's another name for the RPC, basically. That will come about Soroban a lot in later videos in this series. We'll come about the word Soroban, but this is just to like give you heads up that you will come across it, and it's something that is very common in the Stellar blockchain network. So now looking at the Soroban RPC, we have what is an RPC? It's a remote procedure call, similar to how an API fetches data for you and allows you to interact as a medium. The RPC also do the same thing. it allows you to interact with and execute procedures or functions or instructions from another domain entirely. And so that's they perform similar functions, but they have different protocols and ways of querying data and ways of interacting with whatever they want to interact with. So now looking at the RPC now, so that means Stellar provides you two ways to communicate with the blockchain. You have the API, the HTTP API protocol, and you have the RPC protocol also, which you can use. So using the RPC protocol, is also one thing to add is that it is a JSON RPC. It's JSON RPC, right? That's another thing to add to it. It's JSON RPC also. So the RPC provides an interface for users and applications to interact with smart contracts. Now, so that's basically what it allows you to do. It allows you to interact with smart contracts. So it allows you to like read from them, fetch and write to them. Also similar to what we've seen from the API. Allows you to query data and submit transactions. So now the RPC also serves as a way to communicate with the blockchain, with the network. Like I said, also similar to how the Horizon API does. The Soroban RPC also does similar thing for you. And with the Stellar, so Stellar provides you. One thing to know is that Stellar provides RPCs for testnet and FutureNet, but not for mainnet. So and how to get the RPCs for mainnet, if you want to, you can get that from ecosystem providers. There are other ecosystem providers that provide you RPCs for mainnet, or basically you can run your own RPC instance. So how to run your own RPC instance will come later on in this series also. There are ways you can run it, and yeah, there'll be like a way to tell you, okay, this is how you can run your RPC instance, but that'll be later on in this series, right? So we are going to be building on, building on the knowledge we have about Stellar little by little until we get to that point. So yeah, so that is what we need to know. So Stellar provides RPCs for testnet, but not for mainnet. So we understand that there is RPC for testnet and FutureNet that Stellar provides for us, but it doesn't provide the RPCs we need for the mainnet. And so that's basically it. So when you talk about data availability, data fetching on the Stellar network, you need to understand that there are two ways to go about this. We have the Horizon API and the RPCs. So as devs or as people that are enthusiastic about, oh, I want to fetch data, I want to query data about certain things, probably my tokens or general data availability about Stellar from Genesis block and all of those things. You have this to make use of, right? And then you can interact with your blockchain and your contract also using the RPCs. And those are ways that you can interact with Stellar, basically the Stellar network. So these are the two approaches for data availability on the Stellar network. I hope you've learned something from here. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.